Antonov's great luck. Was it possible to love the AN-2? It would seem, for what? But chief designer Oleg Konstantinovich Antonov thought otherwise. On March 6, 1946, a special design bureau, OKB 153, was established at the Novosibirsk Chkalov Aircraft Factory, which was supposed to develop civil and transport aircraft. Oleg Konstantinovich Antonov was appointed chief designer. The Bureau's first project was the agricultural aircraft SHM-1, which was later renamed the AN-2. Oleg Antonov already had extensive experience leading the development of aircraft by that time. Since 1931, he was responsible for the development and production of gliders, and since 1943, he held the position of deputy chief designer at the Alexander Yakovlev Design Bureau. Order number 94 on the foundation of OKB 153 was issued by the Minister of Aviation Industry of the USSR Mikhail Vasilyevich Khrunichev in March 1946. The order defined the main technical characteristics of the new aircraft. On May 31, 1946, Resolution number 1145, 171 of the Central Committee of the CPSUB and the Council of Ministers of the USSR was adopted, which approved the decision of the Ministry of Aviation Industry to create OKB 153 and develop an aircraft codenamed T, Transport. The aircraft was supposed to carry up to 2 tons of cargo and be equipped with an AN-62 IR engine with a capacity of 1,000 horsepower. Initially, the aircraft had the designations CX, Antonov Agricultural Aircraft, and CX-1. On August 31, 1947, test pilot Pavel Volodin first took to the sky the prototype of the AN-2, which was then called the CCA. The plane made 2 circles at an altitude of 1,200 meters and landed successfully half an hour after the flight. Until March 1948, state tests were conducted at the Air Force Research Institute, and on August 23rd of the same year, the aircraft was adopted by the Air Force and the Civil Air Fleet under the name AN-2. Serial production of the AN-2 began at plant number 473 in Kiev. In total, more than 18,000 aircraft were produced, for which Anushka got into the Guinness Book of Records. On September 9, 1949, test pilot Lysenko took off the first production AN-2 in a transport version. The number 2 inches in the name of the AN-2 did not appear by chance. According to the order of the People's Commissariat of Aviation Industry of 1940, all aircraft had to have a designation consisting of 2 letters of the designer's surname and a numeric index. An odd index was used for fighters, and an even index was used for transport and passenger aircraft. At that time, there were no purely civilian design bureaus in the USSR, so this principle was also applied to civilian aircraft. In addition, the AN-2 was planned to be used as a transport and amphibious vehicle, so it was assigned a military index. Most of the aircraft models created under Antonov's leadership received even numbers. Only a few models were the exception. For example, the AN-71 is a long-range radar detection aircraft, which was created on the basis of the AN-72. It was built in 3 prototypes. The AN-3 is a modification of the AN-2 with a turboprop engine, and the AN-225 is the largest aircraft that was used to transport the Buran spacecraft. These 2 models were developed in the 1980s when the old designation system was no longer used. The AN-2 aircraft has 2 wings, upper and lower. This design is called a biplane. In the mid-1940s, such aircraft were already considered somewhat outdated. Most of the new aircraft were built according to the monoplane scheme and equipped with a retractable landing gear. This reduced drag and increased speed. However, the AN-2 aircraft was developed primarily as an agricultural machine, for such a high speed is not required, and may even be undesirable. Instead, characteristics such as high reliability, ease of operation, ease of repair, and the ability to take off and land on unprepared sites are important. Oleg Konstantinovich created an airplane that is built according to the scheme of a biplane with a fixed landing gear. The wings of the aircraft have a metal frame and a canvas skin, which makes it lighter. Wing mechanization, including large flaps and automatic slats, significantly improves the takeoff and landing characteristics of the aircraft. The first tests showed that the aircraft is very manageable. It does not need to gain additional height during landing, which allows you to reduce the length of the required landing pad. The use of flaps helps to accelerate acceleration during takeoff and slow down speed during landing. The acceleration length is 170 meters and the run length is 215 meters. Without using flaps, these figures increase to 310 and 430 meters, respectively. The minimum size of the runway for the AN-2 aircraft does not exceed 780 meters. Taking into account all necessary parameters, these data are taken from the 1984 Aircraft Operating Manual, which applies to new aircraft. Over time, as the engine is used and worn out, its power decreases and more space will be needed for takeoff and landing. However, this site will still be smaller than required for other aircraft. From 1949 to 1952, 185 An-2 aircraft were produced at Aviation Plant number 473 in Kiev. From 1953 to 1963, 3,164 aircraft were produced at the same factory. From 1959 to 2002, 11,915 aircraft were produced at the WSK PZL Milik Aviation Plant in Poland. From 1966 to 1971, 506 aircraft of the AN-2M modification were produced at the Dolgoprudny machine building plant. From 1956 to 1968, 727 aircraft under the name Fengshu 2 inches were produced at Aviation Plant number 320 in Nanchang, now NAMC, Nanhang Aircraft Manufacturing Corporation. In 1970, the aircraft factory in Shijiazhuang, now SAMC, Shijiazhuang Aircraft Manufacturing Corporation, produced more than 300 aircraft under the name Yunshuji 5, Y5. Oleg Konstantinovich Antonov conceived the idea of creating an aircraft for agriculture, but the result exceeded all expectations. It turned out to be a universal aircraft, on the basis of which 28 different modifications were created, among them agricultural, passenger, forest fire, transport and amphibious, sanitary, and others. The AN-2 SH agricultural model has become one of the most popular. This aircraft is equipped with a 1,400-liter chemical tank. It is designed for irrigation of fields, pest control, and soil fertilization. An-2 aircraft were produced in the Soviet Union, China, and Poland. Almost all graduates of flight schools of the USSR began their careers working on the An-2, treating fields with chemicals. They recall those times with a smile, saying, "I worked in the chemical processing of fields." These memories are associated with warm and sincere days, first flights, summer, and first love. The tank is loaded with bulk substances through 2 hatches on top of the fuselage, and with liquid substances through a fitting. Thousands of An-2s took to the skies every morning from airfields all over the Soviet Union. Airports were crowded. It was difficult for pilots to communicate with each other by radio, and up to 10 planes could be on the circle at the same time. The roar of the engines could be heard all over the city. That's how Victor, the pilot of the first class and the commander of the An-2, remembers. The N2C is an air ambulance. There are places for 6 bedridden patients and 2 accompanying medical workers in his cabin. On the N2T transport aircraft, 12 side locks and 4 suspension straps were installed in the cargo cabin to accommodate 6 stretchers. The aircraft was equipped with an easily removable thermal insulation curtain which divided the cabin into 2 compartments, sanitary and entrance. There was also a first aid kit and a portable bathroom on board. The AN-2 SH with APO is a variant of an aircraft with an aviation fire sprinkler. The APO could consume from 50 to 200 liters of extinguishing fluid per second. It consisted of an agricultural tank, a drain nozzle, a compressed air cylinder, and other equipment. The liquid was ejected from the tank downwards at a speed of 30 meters per second, which allowed it to pass through hot updrafts and reach Gorenje. This made it possible to create barrier strips with extinguishing liquid from a height of no more than 50 meters. The AN-2T is a transport aircraft that can carry up to 1.5 tons of cargo. It is also used for postal and freight transportation. This is the simplest version of the aircraft, without interior trim and passenger seats. Moored brackets for securing cargo are installed inside the cabin and on the sides, and removable nodes with rings are installed on the floor. This aircraft was built in series in the USSR, Poland, and China under the designation Y-5A. The AN-2 TD is an amphibious transport aircraft. Its cabin is equipped for 12 parachutists and their cargo. Benches are located along the sides, and there are also devices for landing and dumping cargo. The aircraft is equipped with cables for carbines of parachute exhaust halyards, as well as sound and light alarms for giving commands to paratroopers. The AN-2F is an aerial photography aircraft. This is a civilian version with a conventional fuselage and autopilot. The AN-2L is a forest fire version of the aircraft. It is equipped with a cargo of chemicals in glass containers under the wings and fuselage. An ampule fire protection system was designed and manufactured for this aircraft by order of the Ministry of Forestry. It consists of 2 cassettes under the lower wing and 1 under the fuselage, each of which contains 120 glass-liter ampules filled with extinguishing liquid. When the locks are open, the ampules are dropped and broken on the ground, and the liquid is spilled. The AN-2 NAC is a unique aircraft that was used for photo reconnaissance and night artillery surveillance. It had an unusual design with 2 keels and a glazed tail section. For protection, a UBT machine gun or an NS-23 automatic cannon was installed on board. The AN-2 NAC made its first flight in April 1949 under the control of test pilot A.E. Pashkevich. However, this aircraft was never put into mass production. AN-3 is a modification with a turboprop engine, TVD-20. The AN-6 is a high-altitude weather scout designed to fly in mountainous areas and perform high-altitude meteorological and geophysical surveys. An observer's cabin was equipped in front of the keel, providing the best all-round view. 2 international altitude records have been set on the AN-6. He made his first flight on March 21, 1948. The AN-2 Interceptor is a version of the aircraft with a twin machine gun turret behind the center section and a searchlight designed to intercept reconnaissance balloons. This modification appeared in the 1960s. AN-2-100. This is an upgraded version of the aircraft with the MS-14 turboprop engine developed by Motorsich. On April 11, 2017, the AN-2-100 aircraft set a record by lifting a cargo weighing 3,202 kilograms to an altitude of 2,700 m. Technical specifications: crew 2 people. An additional flight mechanic is included in the Russian Aerospace Forces. Passenger capacity 12 people. Load capacity 1,500 kilograms. Length 12.4 meters in the parking position. Height 5.35 meters in line of flight. Cargo cabin dimensions: length 4.1 meters. Height 1.8 meters. Width 1.6 meters, empty weight 3,400 400 to 3,690 kilograms maximum takeoff weight in passenger and cargo versions. At ground temperature up to plus 15 degrees C, 5,500 kilograms. At an air temperature near the ground above plus 15 degrees C, 5,250 kilograms. In the agricultural version, 5,250 kilograms. Fuel capacity 1240 liters. Maximum speed 236 kilometers per h. Cruising speed 180 kilometers per h. Flight range 990 kilometers. Ceiling, maximum height 4,200 meters. Engine power 1,000 horsepower. Power plant 1 X-star-shaped piston, ash 62 IR, inertial, gear, propeller AV2, screw diameter 3.6 meters. Armament, unguided missiles, 2 RO units, 16 unguided S-5M or S-5K missiles, bombs, 1 beam holder BDZ-57KU or BDZ-57KR with a bomb weighing up to 250 kilograms. To take off and land, the AN-2 aircraft requires only 150, 200 meters. This amazing and unpretentious aircraft is capable of landing on a variety of surfaces: grass, snow, ice, and even water. Pilots affectionately call the AN-2 Anushka and often use it to land in hard-to-reach places. Flying up to the intended landing site, be it a village or the final destination of the expedition, the pilot carefully examines the area from the air, choosing a flat place, usually a field. Then he flies over the selected place several times at a low altitude, assessing the wind and the condition of the surface, after which he lands. However, when landing, pilots have to face a serious problem: cowling. This is a situation where an airplane crashes nose first into the ground during a sharp descent and may even roll over through the nose. The initial takeoff speed of the AN-2 is about 100 kilometers per h. If a strong wind blows near the ground, the plane can take off almost from the spot, and with a strong headwind on the route, it can even move tail first. The minimum flight speed of the AN-2, according to the pilots, is only 40 kilometers per h, which is a unique indicator for aircraft all over the world. Thanks to its design, the AN-2 can perform impressive maneuvers, such as hovering in place, moving its tail forward, and even a dead loop. Aeroprom Group of companies, located in the Krasnoyarsk territory, by the beginning of the year, used 9 AN-2 aircraft produced between 1967 and 1987. The company started its operations in 2012 and initially specialized in aviation forest patrol and firefighting. In 2022, Aeroprom received a cargo transportation permit, and in 2023, the company received a commercial certificate allowing it to transport passengers. In addition to the AN-2, it is planned to use upgraded versions of the Cornhusker, TVS-2MS on local airlines. These turboprop aircraft, designed for 2 crew members, were created by Sibnaya. The possibility of using such an aircraft was announced in May last year by another Siberian transport company, Siberocraft, from Tomsk. The situation with domestic air routes in this region is difficult. In the last 2 years, there have been almost no flights on them. There is no financing for this area of air transportation. There is no own fleet, although all the necessary infrastructure, runways, is in working order, and small airfields are capable of receiving light aircraft. As of last summer, 4 TVS-2MS were used in the region, 2 in Kamchatka, 2 more in Magadan. 3 more such vehicles are expected to arrive in autumn. The modification involves, first of all, the replacement of the Soviet engine with the American Honeywell type TPE 331. The Novosibirsk-based Rusavayaprom company has been engaged in the deep modernization of the cornfield for more than 10 years. When it comes to a new aircraft, the question arises, why not call it, for example, An-21M or something else? The reason is that the name An is already occupied by the Ukrainian company Antonov. The installation of a different power unit has improved many of the technical characteristics of the machine. The power increased to 1,100 horses. The AN-2 has 1,000 GP. The weight decreased from 3.69 tons to 2.85 tons. Thanks to the use of jet fuel instead of gasoline and a 5-bladed propeller, the aircraft has become more economical. The Honeywell TPE 331 engine, Honeywell type, and the Cornhusker body are eternal. That is, they can be repaired indefinitely by replacing worn parts. With 1.5 tons of cargo, the flight range increased to 1,300 kilometers, compared with 900 kilometers for the Cornhusker. Cruising speed increased from 180 kilometers per h to 200 kilometers per h. The most important change is that fuel consumption has decreased from 180 200 liters/hour to 119 liters/hour. The manufacturer of the TVS-2MS says that the aircraft can be safely operated for at least 15 years after the modernization. But there is one problem. It needs 9 billion rubles, which the company requested from the government of the Russian Federation. Probably there was no response, and the Ministry of Industry and Trade decided to concentrate all efforts and funds on creating Baikal. If we talk about the Tomsk region, the head of Siberocraft R. Moiseev believes that no more than 12 aircraft will be required to service all routes. Another airline, Sile, Siberian Light Aviation, is also ready to purchase TVS-2MS and resume work on local routes, but only on condition of state subsidies. According to aviation industry estimates, there are about 800 AN-2s in the Russian registry. About 300 of them are in operation, and not all of them have certificates for passenger transportation. According to data from a year and a half ago, only 218 aircraft had such certificates. This means that approximately 500 aircraft can be upgraded. 4 years ago, a Russian, one of the Ural company, was going to purchase a batch of licensed AN-2 Y5BG in China. It is unknown if a deal has been concluded. Rosaviaprom claims to have established parallel import of components for its TVS-2MS. However, how much will such upgraded aircraft cost? In May 2023, the price was indicated at 145 million rubles. For comparison, 122,701,000 rubles are being asked for a used Cessna Grand Caravan 2000. The new Baikal, which has yet to be waited for, is estimated at 178 million rubles in 2023. At the initial stage, its cost was 120 million rubles. When your turn comes, the price will probably increase. But even in this case, not everything is simple. Even if the AN-2 is left unchanged, that is, the Soviet-Polish ASH-62, Y-engine, other components, assemblies, and systems are repaired, and then the immortal aircraft is sent back to the local line, this will only be a temporary measure until the necessary number of Baikal appear. And the demand for such machines is great. Orders for them have already been scheduled for the next few years. During the repair of the AN-2, it was unexpectedly discovered that about 60 parts and assemblies have not been produced in Russia for a long time. A paradox arises. The country that created the aircraft, which was included in the Guinness Book of Records for the number of copies produced, is now unable to repair it. It's like if Germany forgot how to make cars and Switzerland forgot how to make watches. Yes, the Cornhuskers were built in Poland and China. The first one, of course, will not sell anything. Chinese spare parts today are of good quality, however. They are primarily intended for aircraft manufactured in China. Thus, it is impossible to simply take and install parts from China on aircraft manufactured in the USSR or Poland. This will require certification, and it will take some time to complete. At the moment, 25 TVS-2 MS aircraft have been produced. This aircraft received a certificate of airworthiness in 2015. The aircraft are operated by both private and state-owned airlines, for example, the Amur Air Base. TVS-2 MS are also used in aero clubs in Saratov and Minsk. There, planes are used for pilot training and skydiving. But the AN-2s are still plowing the sky, and perhaps soon they will enter the Guinness Book of Records as the aircraft with the longest service life. I would like to express at least a small piece of immense gratitude, that boundless strength and endless history which is hidden behind a modest inscription of 2 letters and 1 number through a dash. N2. The N2 is really the most popular aircraft. He is brilliant in his simplicity, unpretentiousness, with a Russian character. It is indispensable in a huge country with long distances between cities and remote settlements. And that's it. Thanks for watching.